What's going on, everybody? This is Jeff with Living in Arizona, and today we are going to talk about the economy and Arizona and how it all kind of ties together and what you should consider before moving here, but also before buying a home. Some things to already have in mind. What do we go off of? Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. So it's like, sure, we got goals, we got plans, we're not stopping progress, but we're also prepared as a contingency in the event that something happens, and we're mentally prepared and also maybe even financially or whatever. But no one knows how things will shape up. You know, I don't have my crystal ball right here, and who knows, right? But we're going to talk about this. So this came as a subject question from Rodney Royal on the Phoenix, Arizona housing bubble in 2020. We had made that video. If you haven't already seen it, you can search this channel for that video. Rodney says, retired and live in Buckeye, only due to low prices 5 years ago, $211K, for a 2,300 square foot home, but now it's only worth $295K. No jobs here, and the bust will cause prices to fall quickly when people lose jobs that are driving an hour away to Phoenix to work. So he's saying out here in Arizona, if you're one of those people who live far out in suburbia, Buckeye, North Phoenix, Santan Valley, Florence, and work all the way down in downtown Phoenix, if and when you were to lose that job, then what, right? How are you going to be able to pay for that home? And so that's why we're talking about this subject. If you're new to this channel, you can subscribe here and turn on the bell. Also, join our group on Facebook where we're posting all sorts of cool stuff. Look at this picture from Benjamin. Okay. That's a cool picture. Desert living. Suburbia right here. And that's what it looks like before suburbia swallows it all up. I would say, based on this picture, just in case you're wondering, this looks more like Scottsdale. This looks like the Native American Indian Reservation, and this is Scottsdale. That's my guess. Someone said Maricopa, but I think this is Scottsdale. Thanks to Benjamin for that. And so where does all this tension come from, right, about this economic stuff? Well, just turn on Reuters right now. Wall Street falls as trade tensions stoke fears. Oil slides to 12-week low on small decline in U.S. inventories. The energy sector, the Wall Street, the stock market, all that stuff is feeling the heat from the Chinese, the trade war that's taking place with China, and there's no end in sight. And so you have to think, as things continue to go down, you're starting to have deja vu 2007, 2008 all over again, although it won't be just like that. It'll be different. No two things are the same, right? So it could be worse, it could be less worse, but who knows how this recession will break down when and if it does happen. But you need to be aware of this, because if you're going to buy a house, let's just say you buy a home in Phoenix for $300,000, it might go up to 320, and then the next thing you know, it's down to 290, 270, 210, 180. What are you going to do then? You're going to be, having this negative equity and all this. How do you feel about that? And when that happens, I mean, it's 2007 all over again. What if that happened? Are you prepared to live in that house for 5 to 10 years as the U.S. economy comes out of that recession and recovers again back up to normal house prices, right? So you can see on Arizona Central, Metro Phoenix home prices are set to hit a new record. Here's where buyers may find deals. So basically what they're saying is the Arizona housing market is back at all-time highs. What happens when markets hit all-time highs, right? So when the market hits an all-time high, that means that it's the highest it's ever been, so you're buying at the top. Just keep that in mind, right? So home prices within the Phoenix real estate market have risen steadily over the past few years, and that trend is predicted to continue through 2019 and into 2020. A lack of inventory is one of the main reasons why home prices are climbing in Phoenix. So there's a lot of demand for people who are moving to Phoenix, and there's not a lot of space to accommodate them. So we already said Maricopa County was the fastest growing county in all of America, which would make basically Phoenix Metro one of the fastest growing cities in all of America. So just keep that in mind. So when there's that kind of expansion, they've got to build the homes to accommodate all those people. And that's so supply and demand basically at its finest, right? Now, when the economy tanks, when the economy goes into a recession, I don't know if it'll tank, how well will Arizona be able to handle that? What are some things to consider? Well, are there going to be jobs? Is your industry going to be in demand in a recession? You know, what kind of sectors take the biggest hit? Well, last time it was banking, finance, right? Real estate agents really took a beating. Construction took a beating. Like, you know, all the construction stopped. It came to a screeching halt. Sometimes they'd be 6 months away from completing, and then they just said, we got to pause this thing. That happened more in other places, not so much in Phoenix, but it still could happen here, where you have a whole bunch of incomplete construction because the budget just runs out and the economy is going south real quick and in a hurry, and they've got to pause the whole thing. So, so that's going to affect construction, real estate. Who else might be subject to this kind of decline? We already said the loan officers, right? Maybe credit bankers who are into credit. Who's immune to it? Well, police officers will probably be in demand. Fire department might probably be in demand still, right? Because you're still going to need that. You're going to need teachers still. These are immune jobs, but they will still have they could be subject to taking a hit in pay and whatnot. And we see layoffs with cities because city budgets get cut. So there goes the law enforcement, there goes the rural metro and all that. But just some things to keep in mind in the event of a recession. So you've got the information here. Phoenix home values have gone up 7.5% over the past year. So I just want to point this out to you potential home buyers, okay? Because many of you have heard it's better to buy. If you're going to be in a place, it's better to buy and pay towards that equity than rent, right? You know, if you're renting for 7 years, that's all money just straight down the drain. If you're paying to a mortgage, if you can afford to get into a mortgage or you're pre-approved or you get approved, that 7 years is going towards your principal. And then if you, whatever you get vested in for your interest rates, maybe a year later you do a refinance and you get an even better interest rate, right? So when you're owning a home, you know, there's so many different advantages that renters don't have. That's why, you know, we're talking about this, because there is that advantage. And then so there's Phoenix Hot 2019 Housing Market Report says. So here it is as of January 9th, 2019. They're writing about that. Obviously, we're in May now, and the China stuff has been on the radar for a while, right? But, you know, there's lots of buzz around the Arizona hot housing market. Then you have, how will Arizona weather the next housing market crash? So Arizona real estate is strong, but for how long? Here's what experts predict for Arizona real estate in the next housing market. Experts agree the next housing market crash will be happening soon. This is coming from Arizona Big Media from Darren Wilson. So no one knows when that's going to happen. And like he said, although it's impossible to know for sure, experts say that it's not likely to be in 2019. According to the Washington Post, the market will slow down this year, but isn't likely to crash just yet. So a recession, right now we're seeing some slowing of growth, which means that we're kind of going backwards a little bit, but that's not a crash. A full-blown crash is when you see Amazon stock go from $2,000 per share all the way down to $700. And, you know, just where basically market caps get wiped off the board. Housing prices go from 300,000 down to 110,000. We've seen that before. I'm not saying that it'll happen again that drastic, because there's so much money in circulation, right? Like, that's what they keep doing. They just keep printing more money, and that keeps inflating prices. That's why if you buy a home now for 300,000, what 300,000 is worth in 2019 is going to be different than what $300,000 is worth in 2025, especially if they keep just printing money to keep this thing moving. But they're saying at some point there's going to be an imbalance and the legs are going to fall out from underneath this and the collapse is going to happen. But then there's other people on the other side of the coin who are saying, hey, Australia has seen an economic expansion for 20 years. Why can't America? Because, you know, most of the time they talk about the yield curve and they talk about how every 10 to 15 years there's a recession. And so now that 2007 was 12 years ago, they're like, well, we're due, because it's in that 10 to 15 year cycle. But there has been has been exceptions to the rule, like Australia, where they've been in a 20-year expansion. So why can't the United States go through like a 20-year expansion? So that would mean we might have 7 to, who knows, 10 more years of expansion left. We don't know, but we're in that buffer zone where it's like we're overdue or not. And what happens if we don't cut a deal with China? What happens if we do cut a deal with China? So all of this is going to affect you new home buyers here in Arizona because the housing market is a very fragile industry. Wouldn't it be great if whatever you buy now and then your home continues to gain equity for the next couple years or gain in value over the next couple years? That would be great. That would be good for me. I just bought this house in 2018. Obviously, that's what I'm hoping for, especially since I invested a lot of money in my backyard to build an oasis. You know, it would suck if they did what they did in 2017 where, you know, a bunch of people, you know, can't afford to live there, so they foreclose or short sale, and then the bank claims the house, and then it's like, wow, that was really, you know, so you got to keep that in mind when you're investing. But my mentality about all of this is just keep pushing forward. You just got to do what you got to do. Don't worry about the economy. Don't worry about all that stuff. That's my message. But then again, you know, don't bet the farm also. But I would say proceed with hope, proceed with faith, set your goals, achieve your goals, keep living life. Don't, you know, but keep in the back of your mind that you need to have an exit strategy or you need to have a contingency plan in case, for lack of a better word, SHIT hits the fan, right? Anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Subscribe to this channel, like this video, ask questions below, and watch some of these other videos, and we'll see you next time.